Once I'm done destroying everything you love.
This episode kicks off at exactly the moment Mark had killed Angstrom Levy, unbeknownst to Invincible that Angstrom Levy was still very much conscious and alive. Angstrom opens up a portal that takes him to some alien dimension and instructs them to fix him up. However, after many months had passed by, Angstrom Levy decided to do everything in his power to get his revenge on Invincible.
Make them hate!
But firstly, he recruited every known Invincibles to him from other dimensions and sends them to different countries to destroy everything in their path, in order for people to think Mark has gone wild just like his very own father. He plans to make the people fear and hate Invincible. Meanwhile, Eve noticed Mark is still worried over what had happened to Powerplex. And she is of the opinion that none of what happened to him was his fault, but he still feels guilty about it. As Mark believes Powerplex's sister and niece died because of his fight between him and his dad, plus Powerplex also lost his wife and baby because of the fight between him. Just then, Eve decided to cancel dinner with her parents again tonight, which seems so suspicious to Mark as he feels she doesn't want him to meet her parents. Eve explains that her parents are problematic. She really has a terrible parent, which Mark can also relate to. Just as the two continue their conversation, Eve gets a call, informing her the danger at hand. On the other hand, one of the Invincibles from another dimension is busy destroying the city prison, while another one destroys the White House. One other destroys every religious building in the city. This is all total chaos as everyone run for their lives. The scene shifted to Rex explode, helping Ray to park into her new apartment. Just after they had a romantic conversation that almost led them to kiss, a very loud explosion sound occurred to get their attention. Rex and Ray immediately suits up, but Rex tells her not to follow him, as she can't unquit on her first day. He assured her that if the challenge is too bad for him to handle, he will call her for assistance. So before he leave, the two then had a special moment. Once that was sorted out, Rex ran straight to where the explosion is happening. A moment later, Mark arrived at the prison to see the whole place in a mess, but was more in shock when he sees an Invincible from another dimension. Mark asks him how he was able to get here, but unfortunately the Invincible from another dimension replies with violence. And a very intense battle began, with him beating Mark senselessly. However, just as he keeps punching Mark repeatedly, Mark stops holding back and makes him unconscious with one slap. Finally, Mark wins a fight. Just then, some superheroes saw Mark and went to attack him thinking he was one of the bad Invincible who came from different dimensions. He tries to explain to them, but they just kept punching. This then gave Powerplex, who is now free from prison, an opportunity to go join them, but he is shocked to see another Mark at the scene. Unfortunately for him, that Invincible doesn't hold back on him and sends him flying with a dangerous punch. The news on multiple and different Invincible continue to spread like wildfire as every superhumans all resembling Invincible are wreaking havoc in cities all around the world. Quickly, Oliver suits up to go and help Mark, but Debbie stops him saying he is too young and the Invincibles from other dimensions will kill him. But Oliver tells her that she has always told him to care about people, and that's what he is trying to do. After hearing this from her young Oliver, Debbie decided to let him go, but tells Oliver that those other Invincibles might come to her house and instructs him not to return home until the war is over. Meanwhile, another Invincible from alternate dimensions attacked Cecil's basement, but his reanimants were able to kill him with the help of the device Cecil had once used on Mark, although this came with a lot of damage. Just then, Donald was able to explain to Cecil what is happening and tells him that there are at least 18 Invincibles from another dimensions in their world. They are just destroying whatever they can with no pattern or plan, but the good news is those Invincibles are not as strong as theirs, which means they have a chance on taking them down. So superheroes from different dimensions are deployed to stop the Invincible, and this whole mess suddenly turned into a world war. At the other hand, Oliver saves every citizen in the town, helping as little as he could. Just then Oliver sees Mark in the sky and happily flies to go meet his brother, but soon realizes he is Invincible from another dimension. Eve tells the Mark that they should just take down those Invincibles one by one and figure out who did it. However, Mark knows there is only one man who could have done all this, which is Armstrong, and to him, he already killed him. Back to Oliver, the other Invincible, which isn't his brother, began to hit him, and just then Oliver hit back, but fortunately for him, other superhero Cone to his rescue. Just as Mark and Eve get busy fighting the Invincibles, another one shows up to assist, dressing like Omni-Man. Mark tells Eve to go and let him handle it, knowing this would be so dangerous for her. But Eve refuses to let him fight the two alone. So unfortunately for Eve, during the fight, one of the Invincible breaks Eve's leg in a brutal manner. Mark realizes things just got serious, but luckily, Cecil shows up with his reanimants and tells Mark to escape as he helps fight those Invincibles. Donald informs Cecil that he should let him go and fight, because with his metallic body, He will be more useful in the fight than just staying behind the screen. However, Cecil is hesitant at first, but since he has a way to bring Donald back to life in case he gets killed, he allows him to go fight. At the basement, another Invincible attacked the Guardian of the Globe. With so much fun as he proved to be stronger than the Guardians of the Globe, even Immortal was no match for him. Sadly, he killed Shape Smith, while easily defeating all at once. When he decided to stop playing with him, he beheads Immortal and uses his head to kill Duplicate Girl. Just as he blab about easily defeating them, Darkwing arrived to take him to another dimension. Back home, Debbie is seriously worried about her boys. In a plot twist, it turns out Shape Smith is still alive. Meanwhile, another Invincible attacks Rudy and his robots, while Monster Girl is unconscious. Rex shows up to fight the Invincible. He tells him to escape while he holds the Invincible, and tells him to pass a message to Ray on how he loves her. He gives the Invincible a really tough fight, but that didn't last for long. Just as the Invincible holds his neck to kill him, Rex explodes himself to kill the Invincible. This particular scene was such with serious emotions as every superhero lost at least one person they loved. Cecil goes to meet Mark at the hospital and tells him to live Eve, because right now the world needs him the most. Oliver is out there, even his mother is out there, but Mark is still so afraid to leave Eve alone at the hospital, because those other Invincibles might come to kill her to get at him. At day 3, the chaos from all this had become worse while Armstrong watched in total pleasure. Just about 6 Invincibles is still alive, and they successfully set the world on fire. Seeing this, Angstrom decided to go along with his second plan. Angstrom Levy instruct the remaining Invincible to find Mark and bring him to him. But the other Invincibles don't want to work with him anymore, as his stupid plan got most of them killed. Plus the deal was they help him, and he in return help him take over a bunch of others' dimensions. They tell Angstrom they are done working for him, and threatens he give them their dimensions, or they will kill him. So Angstrom in retaliation sends him to an empty dimension to trap them there. Cecil tells Mark they found who the mastermind behind this whole destruction is, and it's no other person but Angstrom. Mark attacks Angstrom and tries to take him down. Mark appears to know all Angstrom tricks, as he dodged all the portals Armstrong tried to push him into. So Angstrom uses some of his drone for assistance, and uses it to fight Mark. He tries to use the machines to push Mark to another dimension, so he can have the chance to destroy everyone Mark cares about. So after a serious encounter with the two, Mark managed to overpower the machines and goes to choke Armstrong, asking if this is what he wanted. So many deaths just to get back at him.
What he did! Kill him so he could never do this again!
Oliver shows up and tells Mark to immediately kill Angstrom before he escapes in order for him not to ever attack the world again. Mark decided to kill him, but Armstrong is able to escape through one of his portal, but Mark ripped out one of his arm trying to stop him from escaping. Angstrom tells the technicians to fix his arm, but they refused. We get to find out that Angstrom made a deal with them, but he failed to honor it, so he do not get to have a second chance. They tell him to work for them, and they will fix his arm, but if he refuses, they will use his body to their advantage. From the news broadcast, we get to find out that the death count for the damage was in thousands. Meanwhile, Mark goes back to the hospital to watch over Eve. Cecil shows up and tells him not to blame himself for anything or been a good person. Cecil also informed him that Debbie is safe because she was in her boyfriend's house, and Eve's parents are coming to the hospital to watch over her. He wants Mark to follow him to New York as his help is needed there. But Mark made it clear that after this is over, they are still not working together. Cecil teleports Mark to New York to reunites with Oliver. But yet again, Powerplex sees Mark and angrily attacks Mark, blaming him for all the deaths and chaos that happened so far. Oliver punches Powerplex and tells him to leave his brother alone. They both tried to handcuff him, but he struggled. Eventually they did so, and Cecil tells one of his heroes to take him to prison. Mark eventually met with Eve's parent, and at first he was rudely asked to leave, but just then Eve's mom recognized Mark, and the two had a decent conversation. Immortal is brought back to life, and he asks Duplicate to be his wife, which she agrees to. Immortal and Duplicate is retiring to focus on their marriage. Meanwhile, Darkwing is missing, Monster Girl is injured. In fact, most of the heroes are injured and out of action. Cecil informed the team that their enemies won't be kind enough to take a break while they rebuild. So Cecil proposes to Mark to lead the Guardians, but he refuses immediately. But anytime Cecil needs him, he should give him a call. However, Mark thanks Cecil for his help so far. Mark went back to New York and decided to go help the injured people. But at that moment, Conquest shows up and tells Mark to stand ready for his arrival worm as he was giving time, and yet he found this planet not ready for the arrival. Immediately, the two went band for band, and the episode then came to an end. Kindly subscribe for the last episode next week. Thanks for watching and goodbye.